Chapter 67 Become a Ninja from Today. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, things went against expectations. After all, Aokiji has the limit of blood inheritance. Uchiha's compromise with Aokiji's exposure to medical ninjutsu is already the limit. If he studies it further, it will waste his fighting ability. The Uchiha family will not watch Uchiha waste his natural resources. It seems that I can only think of other ways to win over King Pheasant. What a pity. I originally wanted to accept him as a disciple. Lake Biwa sighed to herself. With this foreshadowing, she changed the subject. Speaking of which, I don't know much about this kid yet. Tsunade, and you seem to have grown up with him. Can you tell me about it? Collecting information about King Pheasant is a task assigned to him by his husband. Biwako was Aoji's teacher, and it was understandable that he asked this question under the banner of caring about his students. Tsunade felt it was excusable and was not suspicious. Aoji. Biwako hummed. Tsunade summarized Aokiji's character and replied, you can think of him as a guy who combines the strengths of Orochimaru and the weaknesses of Jiraiya. Lake Biwa was shocked. Let's put aside Jiraiya's shortcomings for now, but what is the concept of Orochimaru's advantages? You know, his husband's evaluation of Orochimaru is that he is a genius who comes only once in a century. It may be exaggerated because of his preference for his disciples, but it also reflects the level of Orochimaru's talent. And does Aokiji, who can be compared with Orochimaru, have such a talent? Tsunade is very familiar with Orochimaru and Aokiji, which shows that the credibility of this sentence is quite high. Is Aoki Pheasant very powerful? Lake Biwa asked a more concerned question. Tsunade was startled and thought that something was wrong. Aokiji had specifically told her not to mention her strength to outsiders. But she didn't know how to hide it, so she could only avoid her eyes subconsciously. However, the more this happened, the more interested Biwako was in watching. Isn't he very strong? Being able to ask this question, Tsunade sighed inwardly. Now the other party may have read the general meaning from his expression, and said helplessly, strictly speaking, this is not really a secret. It's just that Aokiji has specifically told us not to talk about his strength everywhere. Shinji expected that one day his strength would eventually be revealed. He told Tsunade and the others that if someone really asked about this matter, it would be okay to just confess. After all, he had now exposed his ice escape ability and it was not necessary to have full strength. Realistically, just don't give away the Sharingan. Us. Orochimaru and Jiraiya also know. Good luck. Why do you want to hide your strength? In his words, it should be, go. Go? Tsunade said weakly, actually, Aokiji is unwilling to do in-depth research on medical ninjutsu. In addition to family reasons, it may also have something to do with him personally. It has something to do with himself. Tsunade organized her words and said that she would only try the Aokiji medical ninjutsu briefly so that she would not have to go deep into the battlefield and would not be targeted. Hearing this, Biwako was speechless. How could there be such a god-child? Is this the shortcoming you mentioned? No, Jiraiya is not like this. Jiraiya has many shortcomings, but he doesn't have this one. That's not true. What's more similar between him and Jiraiya is that they both have the same hobbies, such as liking astringent and astringent things. At this point, he sneered, man. Biwako was stunned for a moment, then nodded in agreement. His own husband is also the same kind of guy. Although the two are married, this guy will peek at other young women from time to time, showing his astringent eyes. Lake Biwa remembered something about Aokiji at school. In that case, Aokiji seems to have had this tendency since he was a student. In order not to go to the battlefield as a ninja, he even deliberately stopped practicing and slept in class all day to resist. Become a ninja. But if he continues like this, he will easily waste his talents. Tsunade said, don't worry about this, Lake Biwa-sensei. Aokiji has been practicing very hard recently. Biwa was stunned. Think clearly. The prodigal son will turn around. Tsunade said speechlessly, on the contrary, he is still the same Aokiji, but he has even become worse. Tsunade told her about Aokiji's fear that Konoha would be attacked by the enemy that day and that he would be affected and die because of his own lack of strength. In order to prevent such an accident, Qing Pheasant began to practice. Lake Biwa was speechless after hearing this. She was probably suffering from victim paranoia. For a long time, she shook her head speechlessly. This kid Qing Ji is really ridiculous. Especially coming from that Uchiha. When Aokiji's information is fed back to Sarutobi Hiruzen, I really don't know how he will feel. Qingji left the medical class and went straight to the tribe. Elder Itachi was a little surprised when he saw him arriving. At this time, aren't you studying medical ninjutsu in the medical class? Why are you back? I've withdrawn from the medical class. Elder Weasel couldn't understand his operation. Why did you quit the medical class? I have learned the art of palm sensibility and am now a qualified medical ninja. That's true, but becoming a medical ninja requires more than just palm sensibility. No, I think it would be just right to know some palm magic. Aoki informed the other party of his thoughts. After hearing this, Elder Itachi showed the same speechless expression as those who had heard Aoki's coquettish routine in front of Lake Biwa. You guys are really speechless. The Uchiha class behind the scenes originally expected this kid to have more contact with Tsunade in the medical class and develop a relationship, but they didn't expect this kid's brain circuit to be so strange. But since Qingji is willing to spend more time on cultivation, he can't say anything. Elder Weasel shook his head. Forget it, since you are willing to spend more time on cultivation, this is a good thing. If you don't want to go to the medical class, don't go. Hearing this, the big stone in Qingji's heart finally calmed down, and he distanced himself from Tsunade. Now he was safe and didn't have to worry about it every day. Elder Itachi glanced at the happy Aokiji and narrowed his eyes. Since the natural method failed, he had no choice but to change his mind and forcefully intervene in the relationship between the two. It was just a little troublesome. He had to wait 2 years to improve Aoki's strength and create conditions. After a few days, there was no need to go to the medical class to study, and Aokiji had a lot more time. He could either go to Elder Weasel for special training, or train on his own. On this day, Tsunade suddenly found herself, holding a delicate box in her hand. I'll give you something. Aokiji was surprised. Why did Tsunade give him something so neatly? Thinking of this, he said half-jokingly, there must be a love letter in it. That I thought that after saying these words, Tsunade would immediately become irritable, but unexpectedly, she didn't get angry, and she was even a little embarrassed. Qing Pheasant asked, what is inside? You'll know when you open it and take a look. Qingji glanced at him and muttered, mysterious. He opened the box and found an ordinary forehead protector, the kind you can see everywhere on the roadside. The pattern is a bit like a leaf. Tsunade blinked her smart eyes. Are you surprised or surprised? It's surprising how tall you are. Why did you give me a ninja forehead protector? Aoki hurriedly returned the forehead protector. Take it away quickly, I don't want this thing. Tsunade pushed back, showing a smile like a blooming flower, but in Aoki's eyes, the smile was chilling. The main thing is this content, which is really uncomfortable to listen to. Congratulations, you are now a genin from today on. Gone. Chapter 68. 2 years later. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 years later, Konoha 25 years, June, hot summer, a small caravan was on its way to another country when something unexpected happened. A group of masked gangsters attacked the caravan. The bodyguards guarding the caravan fought back, including 4 ninjas hired from Konoha at a high price. After a fierce battle, they worked together to successfully repel the enemy. Everyone was exhausted and needed to regain their strength. During the break, a Konoha ninja wearing a Chunin uniform walked to a young boy who was sleeping under a big tree. He had his legs crossed and a pillow behind his head. Not to mention how moist this little life was. However, the more this happened, the more dissatisfied he became. This guy has been so indifferent since the battle just now. They were fighting bloody battles. This bastard just lay down flat. It was not a strange qualifying word, but physics. Lying flat in the sense. Qingji, when we were fighting just now, why were you just watching? Qingji raised his eyelids and showed a retarded expression. Ha, are you kidding? I am a medical ninja with no strength. You let me fight. Are you kidding me? Who have you ever seen? Medical ninjas can fight. My mission is to treat you when you are seriously injured, that's all. At best, you can only learn some palm magic. What kind of medical ninja are you? That this Chunan's dissatisfaction with Aokiji was not just a result of his recent performance, but also his pent-up dissatisfaction with Aokiji. Shinji turned a deaf ear and disapproved. Can you stop beeping and preaching? It's disturbing my eyes. If you have nothing to do, just get away. I want to sleep. This ninja's dissatisfaction with Aokiji reached its peak, so he stopped talking and planned to give him some color. Stop, now is not the time for internal strife. The leading jounin during the mission scolded. Captain, please let me do whatever you want for once. I will teach him a lesson no matter what this time. As a companion, I cannot allow a guy like him to appear in the team. What does he think of a ninja? That the Chunin didn't listen to the advice, raised his leg, lifted it up, and then slashed down, all in one movement. At such a close range, he was confident that he could catch the blue pheasant by surprise and make him suffer. Before his leg was about to hit Aoki's face, he even couldn't wait to see the opponent's deflated expression, but the result did not go in the direction he expected. As the white smoke dissipated, only a pillow was left on the ground, and Aoki Pheasant himself was already surrounding him. Aokiji poked the opponent's forehead with his pistol-like sword finger, and said jokingly, "You are wrong on 2 points. First, I don't regard you as partners at all. Second, I don't want to be a ninja at all. So fast." The leading jounin on the side was surprised that Aokiji had such speed. Hateful. The Chunin turned around and whipped his fist angrily. Green Pheasant stared down with its legs, widening the distance and allowing the opponent's attack to miss. During the confrontation between the two, Aokiji grinned. "Let me give you a suggestion. Based on your strength, I advise you to stop being a ninja and go back to raising pigs. Don't be cannon fodder and die without knowing it." It was not very harmful, but extremely insulting. The Chunin was furious and wanted to fight Aokiji. "Aokiji, don't think that just because you have some ninja talent, you are great. You can do whatever you want. I won't let others spoil you. I'm sorry, it's great to have talent." Shinji said crookedly, "I don't think you understand this feeling." Aoki's face was too much to be beaten, and the Chunin was furious. He yelled "Ah!" in anger and wanted to rush forward and start squabbling with Aokiji again. At this time, a stern voice came to mind in the air, "Stop, don't fight anymore." The Chunin stopped holding his hand angrily. Shinji shrugged, to give him face, went to get the pillow back, and then found a quiet place to lie down. "Captain, look at how arrogant this guy is. He even asked me to raise pigs. Who are you insulting?" After watching Aokiji leave, the Chunin was very dissatisfied and made a report. "He has finally become a ninja with the hope of his whole family. What a joke, are you raising pigs? Okay, you should say less and don't bring your emotions into the work. If you have any questions, wait until you complete the task and return to the village." The leading jounin shook his head helplessly. "Although I don't want to admit it, if you have talent, you can really do whatever you want." Aokiji is notorious in the village, but even so, Hokage-sama still indulges him and lets him do whatever he wants. For example, this time, he didn't know how many times Green Pheasant had changed teams. How could a normal person get such treatment? "Captain, after you go back, can you tell the Hokage-sama to replace Aokiji? If a guy like this, who has no spirit of cooperation and cares about himself, is placed in our team, he will only spoil the whole pot of porridge." The Chunin's attitude towards Aokiji's existence has reached the point where he is there without me, and there is me without him. It's just that he has the limit of blood inheritance. What's the air? Even if his power is stronger than ordinary people, there is a limit. So-called ninjas should rely on the power of bonds rather than individualism. Let me think about it. The team leader smiled bitterly. When the third Hokage assigned this task to himself, he patted his chest and said it was no problem. However, after only a short time here, he had to return the product. This is unreasonable. Seeing that he did not agree, the Chunin continued to respond, "Captain, you have said this several times. To be honest, Aokiji is really not suitable for us. I admit that this guy is a genius, but this guy always fails to do his job. Although he is very powerful, he always likes to call himself a medical ninja. He hides in the back and is unwilling to participate in the war. Instead of asking such a guy to join the team, I would rather have a genin with average strength. At least there is one more person to contribute, and the escort target can suffer less loss, right? That the leading jounin remained silent. Under the pleading eyes of the team members, he hesitated for a while, and finally nodded in agreement. Oh, okay, I will go back and react to the third Hokage and let him go to other teams. The Chunin breathed a sigh of relief. Now he could finally get rid of the bastard Aokiji. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was sitting in the office, couldn't help but feel a headache when he looked at the application form handed over by a certain jounin. Aokiji is a child with extraordinary talents. Their small temple cannot accommodate this giant Buddha. It would be an incompetence for them to leave him alone. I hope that the Hokage will pay attention to talent cultivation and hire someone wiser. The meaning is very euphemistic, but the core point is to tell Ching Pheasant to get out of here. Watching the jounin leave, Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, opened the drawer, and took out a stack of application forms. These were all application forms left after the team led by Aokiji finally broke up on bad terms. This was the first time that Sarutobi Hiruzen had come here. He couldn't even remember it. When Lake Biwa told him the information about Aokiji, Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately decided to directly promote Aokiji to genin and sent Tsunade, who was more familiar with him, to give him a ninja forehead protector. He originally wanted to slowly influence him through the friendship between his partners, but unexpectedly, Aokiji was much more stubborn than he thought and decided not to become a ninja. Either I am fishing during the task or on the way to fish, and I often find various reasons not to go on any task above sea level. This caused a headache for all the jounin who had led Aokiji, and they all expressed that they did not want to lead a team member like Aokiji, but it's not okay to just give up. Aokiji's talent is so outstanding that he can compare with Orochimaru, whom he likes most, and aside from this, Aokiji's identity is also very suitable for wooing him. He is an Uchiha, but he does not have a Sharingan, and his personality is incompatible with ordinary Uchiha. If the wooing is successful, it will definitely serve as an important eye to monitor Uchiha. After receiving advice from his mentor Tobirama, and seeing with his own eyes how different his friend Kagami looked after turning on the kaleidoscope, Sarutobi Hiruzen was very wary of the Uchiha clan. The most effective way to be on guard is to recruit members within Uchiha to act as eyes. He has successfully won over several Uchiha clan members, including Uchiha Keiru's descendant Shuei Jing. They are all heirs with a vision beyond the clan and a firm will of fire, but the number is still too small after all, and it is necessary to find a few more eyes to monitor Uchiha. Chapter 69 Super S-Class Mission. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, summoned a yellow-haired ninja, and chatted with him for a while about his family's shortcomings and played the emotional card. This jounin was so touched. He never thought that the third Hokage would entrust him with important responsibilities if he cared about him. Just when he was thinking about this, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly brought up the matter of a subordinate he had unfortunately lost recently. Mentioning this matter, the yellow-haired jounin suddenly felt sad. Sarutobi Hiruzen comforted him with a few words. I'm going to find you a new team member to make up for the lost position. Thought it was rare for Hokage-sama to still care about him so much when he was busy with everything, so the yellow-haired jounin cast a grateful look. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and handed over a piece of information. The yellow-haired jounin took it with both hands and browsed it quickly. What do you think of Ching Pheasant? He's a genius. The yellow-haired jounin only had 2 short words to comment on Aokiji. Well, then I'm going to add him to your team. What do you think? The yellow-haired jounin's face stiffened and he declined politely. Sorry, Hokage-sama, I may not be strong enough to be such a genius. Putting him in my team will bury his talent. I think I still recommend him. It would be more appropriate to give it to someone else. He was aware of Aoki Pheasant's infamous reputation. The circle of jounin is so large, and it is common for them to communicate with each other. It is said that this person has an extremely weird personality. He is obviously talented, but he is too afraid of death. He often finds various reasons to avoid tasks that are more difficult than sea-level tasks. Even if he does, he will adopt an extremely negative attitude to deal with them. There was once a special jounin who planned to teach Aokiji with one punch to avoid 100 punches and make him obey the discipline. However, he almost overturned and was beaten by a genin, although that particular jounin was not very good at fighting, that was relative. His title contained the word jounin. Aokiji has such strength when he is only 12 years old. In a year or two, he will probably reach the standard jounin level. If there is another conflict, then as a jounin, if he accidentally fails to fight, wouldn't it mean that he would be ruined and become a laughing stock? Sarutobi Hiruzen did not force himself and asked the jounin to retreat. Then he tried to find a few jounin to ask if they were willing to take an Aokiji. Although the words of these jounin's answers are different, their general meanings are similar. I am a man of limited talent and limited knowledge. Please, Hokage-sama, ask for someone more capable. In fact, it's okay if Aokiji refuses to be disciplined. At best, he is treated as a transparent person. However, the problem is that he also destroys the team atmosphere. He often makes sarcastic comments about others who do not have the talent to be ninjas. It is better to go back to raising pigs. In addition, he and Shinji this is a match of genius, and the mentality explodes directly, giving up the idea of giving up being a ninja. This forced all Konoha jounin to stop doing things. Sarutobi Hiruzen was somewhat aware of Akihiko's behavior in destroying the team atmosphere. He had asked his fellow friend Tsunade and others about Akihiko's situation. According to his understanding, Shinji became extremely afraid of death due to his tragic life experience. He was also afraid of the death of people around him, which caused him to have the same emotions as before, so he didn't communicate much with others and kept a distance from most people. But he is not the kind of person who is completely closed off. He can still make friends, but only those with strong talents, such as his 3 disciples, because strong people are less likely to die. Aokiji doesn't have to worry about accidents happening to them, which will cause them to feel sad. However, it does not mean that Aokiji will be willing to communicate if he has good talent. According to him, although he has good talent and is not prone to accidents, the probability of accidents will increase when the base number is high, so he must strictly control his friends' quantity. There are many children who have drastically changed their personalities due to childhood experiences, and Aoki Pheasant is just one of the more special examples. Just when Sarutobi Hiruzen was having a headache about how to deal with Aokiji, a girl entered the room. In her prime, she had a very eye-catching golden ponytail, a strand of hair hanging down from her forehead, a pair of water-cut almond eyes, big and moist, a delicate and bright oval face, skin as pale as snow, and as graceful as a virgin. He wears a Konoha forehead protector on his forehead, and the upper body is wrapped with bandages that extend to his thighs. The whole body is mainly light green. The top is sleeveless, and the hands are wearing white sleeves. The lower body is also covered with a light green skirt, revealing the slender length. Leg, P.S. Refer to Ino during the Genin period, change his face, change the color of his clothes, and change the position of his forehead protector. She is Tsunade. In 2 years, she has grown a lot compared to the past, except for her breasts. Tsunade, why are you back? Sarutobi Hiruzen was surprised. He remembered that at this time, the other party should be performing a mission. Tsunade entered the Hokage's office as if she were at home, found a cup with ease, and then gave herself a cup of tea without any courtesy. The mission went well, so it was completed ahead of schedule, so I came back early to see the old man. Sarutobi Hiruzen protested, Hey, I'm still very young. Tsunade held the teacup with both hands, took a sip slowly, and complained, Who asked you to grow a beard? You look older than my grandfather Hashirama in the past. Well justified. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled bitterly. I don't know if it's because he has to deal with a lot of things every day as Hokage, but he always feels that he has aged very quickly recently. He is often teased by Lake Biwa and looks like a man in his 40s. Tsunade had nothing to do now, so she asked casually, Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Old man, you looked very distressed just now. The protest was ineffective. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, I'm not your friend Aokiji yet. Tsunade was stunned. What happened to him? Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled bitterly and took out a stack of transfer application forms related to Aokiji from the drawer. Tsunade put down the teacup. picked up a few pictures and looked at them, saying speechlessly, "This guy Aokiji is really capable of causing trouble." Tsunade was not surprised that he would do such a thing. This guy would do anything to save his life. Aokiji, he is very talented as a ninja. Do you think there is any way to guide him to the right path? Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to hear the opinion of Tsunade, who knew Aokiji better. Tsunade waved her hands quickly. "Don't ask me, I don't know how to guide this weirdo to the right path." Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. But what? Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes lit up and he asked. "Actually, it's easy to make Aoki become a ninja. Just give him a reason he can't refuse." "How to say?" "Shinji is a money-grubbing guy. As long as the money is in place, I think he will have a flexible bottom line." Sarutobi Hiruzen, after a pause, he smiled bitterly and said, "But even if I say that, I can't give him money directly. Wouldn't that be considered a bribe?" "I didn't say give him money directly, I just need to change my thinking a little bit." "Change your thinking?" "It's simple. Just let him complete the usual tasks. Let him complete the task alone. If you leave the task of the original 4-person team to him alone, won't you get more money? In addition, he is the only one, so he cannot be lazy. I think for the sake of money, he will be more serious than anyone else. Of course, the premise is that this task cannot be too difficult." Sarutobi Hiruzen was silent, thinking about it. "I've given you the method. As for whether you adopt it or not, I don't care." Tsunade was bored in the Hokage's office, so she left these words and went straight home. There was a new member in the family recently, and she was going back to visit her brother. After Tsunade left, Yuan Fei Risen was the only one left in the office. He stood up from his seat, went to the window, looked out at the scenery through the glass, and murmured, "It might be possible to do it alone." After adopting Tsunade's suggestion, the result was just as Tsunade expected. Aokiji changed his usual lazy style and became very active and conscientious in his work, especially those C and D level missions that looked for cats and dogs. Most ninjas looked down upon them, but he was happier than anyone else. For him, what he was looking for was not just cats and dogs, but money. Usually when there were 4 of us, he had no motivation to find kittens and puppies. After all, the money would be divided and there would be very little left. But it was different now. The money for finding the kittens was all his own, so he would be happy. As for the C-level missions, Shinji said that he was not stupid, so he would not touch them. This kind of good life lasted for a while. One day, Elder Weasel suddenly found him. He was dumbfounded as soon as he opened his mouth, thinking that his ear was broken. "Shinji, I have 2 Super S-level missions here. Please listen carefully." "Ching Pheasant. Super S-level mission, there are 2 of them. What an international joke." Chapter 70 Uchiha Yuelao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What a joke. Ching Pheasant spoke fiercely and argued hard with reason. It was completely expected that the other party would have such intense emotions. Elder Weasel raised his eyelids and said calmly, "Don't get excited. I'm not asking you to carry out these 2 tasks right away. These are 2 long-term tasks." Shinji said as if he was relieved, "That's pretty much it." "Wait, that's pretty much bullshit. The other side is trying to make him despair first, and then give him hope." Shinji, who understood this, said that he would not be fooled, and waved his hands quickly, with a decisive attitude. I won't go. What kind of Super S-level mission? 1 is enough to kill me, let alone 2, what are you doing?" "I'll push it into the fire pit." Facing Shinji's resistance, Elder Weasel ignored it and said in a stern tone, "Listen to what I have to say first." "Oh. The green pheasant is sitting at attention, let's listen." Others may be dissatisfied, but he still has to listen to this mentor who taught him his skills. Moreover, he still owes the other party a lot of debt. This is fundamental. Elder Itachi slowly spit out a name, Uchiha Madara. Hearing this special name, Shinji was startled, and his straight-browed eyes showed deep astonishment. Elder Weasel spoke quickly. "These 2 tasks revolve around this person." Ching Pheasant frowned. "These 2 tasks actually involve Uchiha Madara, no wonder there is a Super S level. but the problem is, isn't Uchiha Madara dead in everyone's mind now? There is something else about him that involves Super S-level missions. Could it be that Elder Itachi knew that Uchiha Madara was not dead, so he asked him to investigate, but with this situation, Aokiji becomes even more confused. Can a person of Uchiha Madara's level be something that he, a little Kurami, can touch at will? Qingji was lost in thought, not knowing what he was talking about. He didn't bother to think about it and asked, "What is the mission?" Uchiha Madara left Konoha for a while before the battle with Senju Juma, and he also took away a lot of important information about Uchiha. These things were left behind after Uchiha Madara died in the battle. Somewhere, I hope you find these things. If possible, it is best to investigate what Uchiha Madara did during this period, so that he suddenly wanted to attack Konoha out of nowhere. This is the first thing. There is nothing wrong with what he said and it is excusable. Qingji nodded. What about the second thing? Elder Itachi paused and said in a low voice, I hope you find Uchiha Madara's body. Madara's body? Aokiji expressed his confusion according to the confusion that normal people would have when hearing this sentence. Wait a minute, isn't Uchiha Madara's body in Konoha? Elder Itachi sighed. Uchiha Madara's body has been stolen. Stolen? Originally, Madara Uchiha's body had been buried somewhere in Konoha after his death, but one day when he was inspecting it, he suddenly discovered that the body had been replaced by a shadow clone. Powerful ninjas have high research value. Let alone a ninja of Uchiha Madara's level, someone should have had evil thoughts and stole his body. I need you to pay more attention to relevant information in your daily work. Qingji narrowed his eyes slightly. Think about it and you will know that the reason why Uchiha Madara used his shadow clone to deceive everyone after his death in the original book is simply unreliable. Let's not talk about how long this shadow clone can last. It is strange to say that your shadow clone is used for experiments without being exposed. Senju Hashirama's corpse has been used for experiments so many times, how could Uchiha Madara, who is as famous as him, not be used for experiments, especially the only remaining eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in the world? It would be strange if Senju Tobarama didn't dig him out and study him thoroughly. Qingji saw the serious look on Elder Weasel's face, and he wanted to say something. Uchiha Madara is not dead, he is alive and well, and now he is waiting for the awakening of the Samsara Eye in some damn place. Bala talked a lot about the importance of these two tasks to the family. He also knew that the other party would probably force him to perform these two tasks. Finally, he asked symbolically. Do you have any questions? Qingji cried to death. Obviously there was no need to ask this question, but he still wanted to struggle. Can I not go? Elder Weasel flatly refused. No, unless you want to pay me back immediately. Aokiji felt depressed. I don't understand why such an important task should be done by my little trash. There should be many powerful jounin in the family. Elder Itachi smiled and explained, don't underestimate yourself. First, your strength is not weak. You should have reached the level of special jounin now. Reaching the level of jounin in 2 or 3 years will not be a big problem. So investigate these things no problem. Second, you are a more cautious person, and are more suitable for this kind of investigation tasks, and are less likely to make mistakes. The average Uchiha member has a more irritable personality, and often has a personality that is eager for success, and it is easy to alert others. Third, your current working situation is more suitable for this kind of relatively hidden task. Qing Pheasant. When ninjas go out to perform tasks, they need to report to the Human Resources Department and work in groups of 4. In addition to improving task efficiency, the purpose of doing this is to monitor each other to avoid doing things. Do something outrageous to avoid losing the village. Elder Itachi gave him a meaningful look. His subtext was to ask Aokiji to desert from his usual duties to complete the tasks assigned by his family. Aokiji didn't lead a team of jounin, and he didn't have any teammates. He was undoubtedly very suitable for this kind of task when he was away from home. Qingji pretended not to understand. Is it necessary to be secretive about this kind of thing? This is our family's secret. I don't want outsiders to know it, especially the higher-ups in Konoha. They are always biased against us. If we let them know that we are looking for Uchiha Madara's body, they will subconsciously feel that we are keeping a secret. What are you planning? Elder Itachi said in a deep voice, for reasons and reasons, it's okay for us to find the bodies of our people, but Madara Uchiha is too special. Special. Mangekyo Sharingan, you must have heard of it at least a little bit. Chin Pheasant nodded in agreement. Even if he is not a time traveler, Chin Pheasant has heard of this stuff to some extent. In this era, the Mangekyo Sharingan was not as lacking in information as it would be in the future. Some jonins in the clan would talk about opening the Mangekyo Sharingan, and he would naturally hear a word or two from time to time. Aoki said calmly, if nothing else, Uchiha Madara's eyes are the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan. Elder Itachi said in a deep voice, as the eye power increases, the Sharingan Magatama will increase accordingly. There can be at most 3 rounds of Magatama. This is what most people know. In fact, there are higher levels above the 3 rounds of Magatama. The Sharingan is called the Mangekyo Sharingan. After obtaining these eyes, the holder will gain huge power without exception. This is the reason why Uchiha can stand at the top of the ninja world all year round. But, speaking of this, Elder Weasel paused, and Shinji matched his words and continued, but Elder Weasel replied with a sigh, acquiring this power is often accompanied by huge side effects. Perhaps it is because these eyes are so powerful that even gods are afraid of them, so they put a curse on these eyes. Chin Pheasant was stunned for a moment. Curse? Yes, the more you use the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan, the more light you will lose. Aoki pretended to be surprised. I didn't expect the Mangekyo Sharingan to have such a secret. But Madara's eyes are special and special here. His eyes will not lose their brightness. Won't go blind. His eyes are the only Mangekyo Sharingan in Uchiha history that can never go blind. The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Aoki murmured, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Speaking of which, the birth of these eyes is quite accidental. I'm afraid it will be difficult for such a pair of kaleidoscopes to be born again in the future. Aokiji agrees with this. Indra's chakra and 2 pairs of Mangekyo Sharingan are not so easy to obtain. Ordinary people will have big side effects when using our eyes, but we, the same tribe, won't have big side effects when using the Sharingan. Having said this, Elder Weasel gave Aoki a meaningful look. Do you understand what I mean? Aoki nodded slightly. In other words, if I find Madara's body, maybe I can recreate Uchiha Madara's power and lead Uchiha to the top again, right? Elder Weasel said slowly, yes. He specifically told Aokiji about the Mangekyo Sharingan, not out of improvisation, but with a clear purpose. Obviously, it was just a cover for him to ask Aokiji to find Uchiha's body. After all, he is alive and well now, and he is right next to Chin Pheasant. When he wanted to use Aokiji to find Uchiha Madara's body, he deliberately left some clues in the process. At the same time, he will also use the time when Aokiji goes out to perform tasks in Konoha to find ways to guide him to the place where Tsunade performs tasks, bringing the 2 people who have no connection together closely. Uchiha Madara finally figured out that it was impossible for these 2 people to create sparks if they stayed in Konoha, so he had to take action. Although he doesn't understand love and has never been in love, he is a bachelor who was born in a single period. But I have never eaten pork, but I have seen pigs running away.